Yo, Bolt fam, today was one of those days that makes you sit back and ask, what exactly is the front office trying to build here? Because the Chargers are making moves that could shape the entire identity of this team in 2026. And I'm telling you right now, some of it is exciting, frustrated, some of it is frustrating, and some of it feels like we're one decision away from this whole thing swinging in a totally different direction. Are we watching a master plan unfold? Or are we watching a team try to get cute when it should be going for the kill? Stick with me, because this gets real fast. Size. Let's start with the TOH Jefferson situation, because this one hits harder than people outside this fanbase probably realize. This is not just about a veteran safety wanting one more contract. This is about respect. This is about value. And honestly, it's about whether this front office truly understands what kind of glue guy matters when a season gets messy. Jefferson basically put it out there for everyone to see. He made it clear he is not signing anything without guaranteed money, and he's tired of being treated like he has no value. And you know what? He's got a point. This is not some player coming off the couch asking for star money. This is a guy who stepped in, held things together, made plays, picked off passes, and helped keep the secondary from falling apart when the pressure started rising. That matters. It matters a lot more than some spreadsheet version of roster building wants to admit. Because when a veteran proves he can still play, still lead, still stabilize a defense, you don't nickel and dime that guy if the number is reasonable. You just don't. Especially not when you've got cap space. Especially not when the contract won't break the bank. Especially not when the message it sends to the locker room could be bigger than the contract itself. But here's where it gets tricky. Joe Ortiz clearly has a philosophy. Don't overspend, don't get dragged to the top of the market, protect the comp pick formula, stay disciplined. In theory, that sounds smart. In practice, sometimes discipline starts looking a lot like stubbornness. And that's where this thing gets dangerous. Because if TOH Jefferson walks over a small guaranteed number, that's not going to feel like smart business. That's going to feel like the Chargers let another useful, affordable, battle-tested player slip through their hands just because they refuse to bend. So what do? Pay the man a fair guaranteed deal and keep a proven veteran in the system? Or let him walk and bet that you can patch the hole cheaper? That's the kind of decision that splits a fan base right down the middle. Drop it in the comments. If you were the GM, are you bringing Jefferson back or moving on? And that leads right into another problem, because the Chargers are not just dealing with tension over who might stay. They're also watching useful pieces leave the building. Losing Benjamin St-Juste might not look like front-page news to casual fans, but Chargers fans know better. This one stings. Why? Because he was exactly the kind of rehab project success story this staff loves to find. A guy with talent, size, tools, upside, and enough flaws that you could get him at the right price. Then he gets into the system, settles in, plays well, and suddenly he becomes one of those under-the-radar wins you feel good about keeping around. Except now he's gone. Green Bay came in with a 2-year, $10 million deal, and just like that, another useful player is out the door. And here's the real issue. This is not just one departure. It's another reminder that the Chargers are playing a dangerous balancing act. They want value, they want flexibility, they want to avoid overpaying. Fine. But eventually you have to stop admiring the process and start protecting the product. Because the secondary can only absorb so many smart losses before it stops being smart and starts becoming thin. Sure, Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart are intriguing. There is talent there. There is upside there. But upside is not the same thing as security. And if the Chargers go into next season acting like development alone is enough to cover every loss, that is a gamble. A real one. That's why a name like Nahshon Wright starts to feel very interesting. Is he perfect? No. Is he cheap? Probably not cheap enough for everyone's taste. But if you're looking for long-term insurance, ball production, physical presence, and someone who can help stabilize the corner room, you can absolutely see the logic. The bigger question is this: do the Chargers actually want to fix the loss? Or are they going to try surviving it with another bargain bin miracle? That's where fans are going to clash. Some will say, trust the coaching staff, trust the development, trust the system. Others are going to say, how many times can you keep replacing proven depth with hope before the whole thing starts cracking? Tell me this. Does that strategy make you feel confident, or does it make you nervous? And just when you think the front office is being passive everywhere, they make a move on the offensive line that almost feels like a half answer. Cole Strange is in, and the first reaction from a lot of people is simple. Okay, right guard solved. But hold on, not so fast. Because the more you look at this move, the more it feels like the Chargers are not solving the line so much as insulating themselves from another disaster. Strange gives them versatility. That's real. He can line up at guard, he can give you snaps at center, he has starting experience, and he has familiarity with key people on this coaching staff. That kind of flexibility matters over a long season. It absolutely does. But flexibility is not the same thing as dominance, and that's the part fans cannot ignore. The contract doesn't scream locked-in starter. It screams useful piece, insurance policy, high-end backup who might start. And that's fine if it's step one. It's a lot less fine if it's step final. Because let's be honest here, protecting Justin Herbert should still be one of the biggest priorities on the board. Building a front that can survive injuries, control the interior, and support the run game is not optional. It is mission critical. So if the Chargers still have cap room, and they still have options out there, why act like this move should close the book? That's the tension. Some fans will love the signing because Strange is still young, still versatile, still has pedigree, and still gives the line more stability than it had before. Others will look at it and say, this feels like another middle lane move from a front office that keeps flirting with adequacy when it should be chasing impact. So let me throw it to you straight. Would you trust Strange as part of the answer? Or do you still want a more established interior lineman brought in? Because this conversation is not over. Not even close. And the next storyline proves that the offense still has another huge question hanging over it. Najee Harris. This is where things get complicated in a hurry, because on paper, the vision made all the sense in the world. A physical, proven back with receiving ability, toughness, experience, and a track record of production. Pair that with a young, explosive runner like Omar E. Unhamptoon, and suddenly the Chargers looked like they had a thunder and lightning setup that could stress defenses in every direction. It looked perfect. And then football did what football always does. It smashed the script. The eye injury already threw off Najee's entire offseason rhythm. That alone made it hard for him to hit the ground running. Then just when it looked like maybe he could settle in, maybe build momentum, maybe become a bigger piece as the season moved forward, the ACL tear ended everything. Just like that. And now the Chargers are stuck asking a brutal question. What version of Najee Harris are they paying for if they bring him back? The old durable workhorse? Or a veteran coming off 2 major setbacks with no clear guarantee of what's left in the tank? That is not an easy call. Not when the team has other needs. Not when the offensive line still needs attention. Not when the defense is already losing useful bodies. And definitely not when Kimani Vidal stepped into the chaos and made the whole conversation even messier. Because Vidal showed something. Real something. He gave the Chargers production, energy, and proof that maybe there is already another answer in-house. And that changes everything. If Vidal looks legit, if Hampton is a central part of the future, if other backs are still in the mix, then how much should this team really commit to Najee? That's the dilemma. Bring him back cheap and bet on the bounce back? Or turn the page now and invest those resources elsewhere? That's not just a running back decision. That's an offensive identity decision. That's the kind of call that tells you whether this team wants security, upside, or a little chaos with its backfield. And when you stack all 4 of these stories together, the picture gets loud. The Chargers are trying to build a contender without spending recklessly, and that part is understandable. But the line between disciplined and overly cautious? Man, it is razor thin right now. Tohne Jefferson puts that on display. St. Justa's exit reinforces it. Cole Strange suggests the line still needs more. Najee Harris leaves the backfield full of questions. So yes, there is a plan here. But plans don't win in March. Execution does. And right now, the Chargers are asking fans to believe that value hunting, patience, and internal development are enough to hold this whole thing together. Maybe they are. Maybe this front office sees the board 3 moves ahead. Or maybe they're leaving just enough on the table to keep this roster from becoming what it could be. That's why this offseason feels massive. Not because of one blockbuster headline, but because every one of these moves tells us something about how this team wants to operate. And if they get it right, the Chargers could come out of this smarter, deeper, and more dangerous. If they get it wrong, they're going to find out the hard way that almost enough is one of the most expensive mistakes in football. So now I'm throwing it to you. Are you buying the strategy, or do you think this team is playing it too safe? Sound off, share this with another Chargers fan, and let's argue it out. Because one thing is crystal clear, this offseason is not slowing down, and the next move could change everything.